It's Friday, January 18th, 2013, and let's talk about what happened this week over at xdadevelopers.com. First up, device and ROM update news. After a few months without any significant releases, Team Kang finally came out with AOKP version 4.2.1, and this first build of 4.2.1 is specifically targeted at the Nexus devices. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be leaving out other devices. They are in the works as well. Things like the Galaxy S2, the S3, the Note, and the Note 2, they're all being worked on at this point, and probably a lot more than that. Of course, you've got all of the major changes that come with going from version 4.1 to 4.2, but in addition to that, you get some other fun stuff, such as unlimited lock screen widgets, fully customizable navbar buttons, color and transparency with widget support, menu arrow keys while typing, that's definitely an interesting one to me, status bar transparency, customizable tile-based status bar toggles, headset volume warning toggles, and bug fixes and optimizations. So if you're a fan of AOKP, this is great news for you, but if you have one of those Nexus devices like I actually do, definitely worth a try. Now, if you're a ROM flasher like I have sort of become in the last few months, you probably have a problem similar to the one that I do, where when you flash your ROM, you lose all of your apps, you lose all of your data, and then you have to start over from scratch. So you lose your Angry Bird saves, and you lose your text messages, and all of that fun sort of stuff. I saw over on Twitter that Kush is actually working on a backup solution that he calls Carbon. I'm not exactly sure what the status of that is, but it hasn't hit the front page of XDA yet. But the story that did hit the front page of XDA forum member Mobile Idea Studio has created an app called Super Backup that will allow you to back up your apps, all their data, contacts, SMS, call logs, bookmarks, calendars, manage all of your backup data, schedule automatic backups, automatically upload your backups to Gmail, and also give a custom backup location. So extremely flexible, and it's something that you can already do with certain other applications, but most of those are paid. This one's entirely free. And honestly, I probably ought to try one of those at some point, because I don't know how many times I've played through the beginning levels of Angry Birds over the years. That's okay, I've got a 4-year-old, he loves to do that. Moving right along and staying in that same sort of vein, if you're the kind of person that regularly switches between kernels, this might be a good story for you. In the past, there have been ways to configure your kernel once you get it installed, depending on what the kernel is. A lot of times there are specialty apps for them. So like Franco's kernel might have a special app for Franco's kernel, and other kernel here might have a special app for it. But they don't all work with each other, and most of them are paid, so you end up paying for each kernel that you go to, and that kinda sucks. Well, now, thanks to XDA recognized developer Twisted Umbrella, you may not have to do that anymore. He's created an app he's calling SKU Kernel Remote, which essentially takes a lot, or if not all, available kernel options, puts them into one application. It's not terribly pretty to look at, but it's there. And if the kernel that you're using or the device you're using does not support the things that it has available, it just disables them. It doesn't let you touch them. So essentially you can have one kernel app that deals with any and all available kernels. Now, reading through the forum thread, it appears there are some issues with existing kernels. As I mentioned before, Franco's kernel has its own app. Well, apparently if you have both of the apps installed at the same time, they conflict, and the SKU remote app ends up force closing. So definitely a very cool app to take a look at if you're a kernel tweaker like a lot of people in the XDA community are. Make sure to read through the forum thread first just to get all the details, of course, and give it a shot if you're interested. And moving right along from software hacking into hardware hacking, Adam Outler has been at it again. Not only has he been hacking away at things like the Galaxy camera, now he started doing Google Plus Hangouts when he does these things. He's been doing them for quite a while, actually. But the most recent one was about the Galaxy S3 with the Qualcomm processor, so the US variants. And during that Hangout, he gave a sort of tutorial on how you can find UART on the US variant Galaxy S3. Definitely not something that's extremely easy to do, and the way that he explains it, you have to be using Linux to do it. Specifically, he's mentioning Ubuntu, but any Debian-based distro, and realistically, just about any distro in general should work. But you use a Linux-based distro, you use Heimdall, you do some tweaks to your kernel to make it UART compatible, you rip the device apart, and then you find the UART on it and start using it. So if you have one of the US Galaxy S3 variants, you might want to take a look at this if you're interested in getting UART. Maybe save your device, maybe get a little more information about it that you didn't already have. And realistically, you probably ought to be following Adam over on Google Plus so that you can be notified when he does these sorts of live streams. In the past, I've actually been in one of them, and you can participate. You can see what he's doing, you can talk to him while he's doing it. Very fun stuff, and a lot of his videos are filmed while he's doing that, so if you say something witty, you might end up in one of the videos, who knows. And the last thing I thought I would mention, we're going to step on over and talk about Windows for just a second. You probably remember a few months ago, Microsoft's Surface tablet came out. However, this was the variety that's running Windows RT, which is the ARM-based version of Windows. And as such, a lot of applications that people would want to use on Windows on a day-to-day basis just do not work. If it's not compiled for ARM, it's not going to work. If it's x86 or x64, it's not going to work on ARM. Sorry. Well, in an effort to help out with that, XDA-recognized developer Good Day to Die has started working on compiling a list of applications that need to be ported and getting people together to start porting applications from Windows to Windows RT. They've started off with a list of free and open source applications, some of the ones that have already been ported, just to mention them. Tight VNC, very useful to have a VNC client on your device. Putty Suite, so you've got an SSH client for Windows. 7-Zip for zipping and unzipping things. Notepad++. Excellent text editor. They're even working on porting Crystal Boy over, which is a Nintendo Game Boy emulator. So from where I'm standing, that's actually amazing work. It's not Android, so a lot of you may not be interested, but to see somebody taking open source applications and making them work on more platforms, it really does sort of embody the idea of developer and goes right along with the spirit of xdadevelopers.com. So 2 thumbs up from me and from the rest of XDA, I'm sure. Anyway, that's going to be about all from me for today. I'm going to go take a break and rest my voice for a little while. As always, do make sure to hit the like button down below if you liked this video and subscribe if you have not already. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on Monday.